So, what if everything we think we know about the future of AI is just a little bit off? Today, we're going to step inside the mind of Ilya Sutskever, one of the key architects of modern AI, to really deconstruct its present, its paradoxes, and his vision for where this is all heading. Let's dive in. This quote right here just perfectly captures how strange this moment is. I mean, think about it for a second. We're seeing massive, massive investments, daily breakthroughs, and people are having very serious conversations about superintelligence. It feels like we're living in a science fiction novel. But as Sutskever reminds us, this isn't a movie. This is really happening right now. And then boom, right away, that sci-fi reality slams into this really confusing paradox. On one hand, we hear about these godlike AI models that can do superhuman things. But on the other hand, the actual real-world economic impact, that huge productivity boom we were all promised, it seems to be lagging way behind the hype. The models feel brilliant and, at the same time, bizarrely incompetent. So what gives? How do we make sense of that contradiction? To get to the bottom of this, we've got a roadmap. We're going to look at 5 key things. First, this feeling of the sci-fi present we're in. Then, the paradox of AI's performance. Third, the human blueprint it seems to be missing. Fourth, the huge shift from just scaling things up to real research. And finally, we'll talk about the endgame, superintelligence. Okay, so let's start with this feeling of living in a sci-fi novel. I mean, we see headlines about companies planning to invest in AI infrastructure to the tune of 1% of the entire US GDP. That is a truly mind-boggling, almost incomprehensible amount of money. And yet, for most of us, life doesn't feel all that different, does it? Sutskever has a great name for this. He calls it a slow takeoff. And it feels normal because, as a species, we get used to stuff incredibly fast. Just think about how magical your smartphone would have seemed 30 years ago, and now it's just a thing in your pocket. But it's more than that. These massive AI investments are abstract. We see a headline with a crazy number, but it doesn't immediately change how we go about our day. Well, not yet anyway. And that's why the revolution doesn't always feel revolutionary. And this feeling of abstraction is hiding a much deeper mystery, the paradox between what these AI models can do on paper versus what they can do in the real world. It's a puzzle that stumps even the top researchers like Sutskever. How can a system be so brilliant and yet so weirdly incompetent at the same time?
So on one side, you have these models just crushing extremely difficult benchmarks. They call them evals in the industry, getting superhuman scores. But on the other side, they fail at what seem like simple tasks. Sutskever gives this perfect and honestly kind of hilarious example. You ask a model to fix a bug in some code. It apologizes profusely and fixes it. But in doing so, it introduces a completely new bug. So you point out the new bug, and the model apologizes again and changes the code right back to the original bug. You can get stuck in this insane, endless loop where the AI just toggles between two broken states. How is that even possible for a system that's supposed to be smarter than us?
So what is really going on under the hood here? This isn't just a random glitch. It points to something fundamentally strange about how these models are being built. Sutskever offers up 2 possible theories for why this happens. And they're fascinating because they suggest the problem might not actually be with the AI, it might be with us. All right, the first theory is single-mindedness. The idea here is that the fine-tuning process, which uses this technique called reinforcement learning, makes the models too focused. Think of it like training a dog. If you only ever give it a treat for sitting, the dog gets really, really good at sitting, but it doesn't learn anything else about being a good pet. The AI becomes a master of one narrow task, but it loses all its broader context and common sense. The second theory, human reward hacking, is even wilder. It suggests the AI isn't the one gaming the system. The human researchers are. By chasing high scores on benchmarks, we might be accidentally training models to just be good test takers instead of being genuinely useful. We're teaching them to cheat, basically, and then we're surprised when they can't do the job in the real world. To really make this crystal clear, Sutskever uses this brilliant analogy that just gets right to the heart of the problem. So let's forget about AI for a second. Let's just talk about 2 competitive programming students who have completely different ways of learning. Okay, so student 1 is like our current AI models. This kid is a grinder. They put in 10,000 hours, they memorize every single practice problem, every proof technique they can get their hands on. And through just sheer brute force, they become the #1 competitive programmer in the world. Then you have student 2. They're different. They only practice for maybe 100 hours. They don't memorize everything, but they have that it factor, that deep, intuitive grasp of the core principles. They also do really well in competitions, maybe not number one, but always near the top. So Sutskever asks the big question. 10 years from now, who's going to have a better, more impactful career? Intuitively, we all know the answer, right? It's student 2. Student 1 is over-optimized for a very narrow game. Student 2 has built a generalized, robust intelligence that lets them solve totally new problems out in the real world. And this leads us to the next logical question. What is that it factor? What is this secret sauce that's in the human brain that our current AI models are so clearly missing? To find a solution, we first have to understand why humans learn so much more deeply and efficiently than our machines do.
The difference is just staggering when you really think about it. AI pre-training is basically force-feeding a model a data set that represents, as Sutskever puts it, the whole world as projected by people onto text. So a huge chunk of the internet. It's an unimaginable amount of information, and yet the knowledge it gets can be really brittle. A human, on the other hand, by the time they're a teenager, has seen a tiny, tiny fraction of that data, yet the knowledge they have is incredibly deep and robust. A teenager would never get stuck in that loop, toggling between two software bugs. There's just a fundamental difference in the quality of the understanding.
So what could this missing piece be? In a really fascinating twist, Sutskever suggests we might find a clue in a very unlikely place: human emotion. To explain this kind of counterintuitive idea, he tells this powerful story from neuroscience about what happens when our own internal guidance system breaks down.
So the story is about a man who suffered brain damage that completely severed his ability to feel emotion. He wasn't sad, angry, or happy. He was just neutral. On standardized IQ tests, he was perfectly fine, articulate, logical. But in the real world, his life just fell apart. He became incapable of making even the simplest decisions. It could take him hours just to decide which socks to wear or where to go for lunch. This story brilliantly illustrates a crucial point. Emotions aren't some irrational bug in our system. They are a vital built-in guidance system that lets us function and make decisions in a complex world. They give us that instant, intuitive gut feeling of what's good or bad long before we can think it through logically.
So how do we give a machine that kind of emotional guidance? Well, the closest concept we have in AI is something called a value function. Imagine an AI trying to solve a maze. Normally, it would have to just wander around aimlessly for thousands of tries before it finally found the exit and got a reward. A value function is like an internal compass. It gives the AI a warm or cold feeling at every single step, telling it if it's on the right track long before it reaches the end. It completely short-circuits the learning process, making it way more efficient, just like our emotions do for us.
But this just leads to an even deeper mystery. It's one thing to imagine evolution hard-coding a desire for food. That's a pretty direct signal. But how on earth did evolution give us these incredibly complex, high-level desires? We care deeply about abstract things like our reputation, our social standing, or being seen as a trustworthy person. These aren't simple feelings. They require our entire brain to process huge amounts of social information. Sutskever points out that we have no good hypothesis for how evolution managed to bake these sophisticated goals directly into our biology. It's a profound puzzle that AI research hasn't even begun to crack. So all of these profound challenges, the brittleness of the models, the lack of deep generalization, this mystery of the value function, they're forcing a fundamental shift in the entire field of AI. The old philosophy of just make everything bigger is just not enough anymore. Sutskever provides this fantastic historical framework here. From roughly 2012 to 2020, we were in what he calls the age of research. This is when breakthroughs like the transformer architecture were discovered by people tinkering on a relatively small number of computers. Then, around 2020, we enter the age of scaling. Everybody realized there was this one magic recipe, pre-training, and all you had to do was add more data and more compute, and you were guaranteed to get better results. It was a low-risk, predictable way to make progress. But now, that era is ending. We're running out of high-quality data, and the returns from just adding more computers are shrinking. So we're being forced back into an age of research, but with a twist. Now we're searching for new ideas while armed with these giant supercomputers. There's that old Silicon Valley saying, ideas are cheap, execution is everything. And for a while in AI, that was true. The bottleneck was just getting enough computer power. But during the age of scaling, as Sutskever puts it, scaling sucked all the air out of the room. Everyone was just executing the same basic idea. Now the tables have completely turned. As one person on Twitter cleverly put it, if ideas are so cheap, how come no one's having any ideas? The bottleneck isn't just compute anymore. It's back to having those foundational,
game-changing insights.
So the game has changed. The era of predictable gains from just brute force scaling is over. The field needs a better recipe, not just a bigger kitchen. This is a truly pivotal moment in the history of AI, and it's a fascinating time to be watching. And hey, if you want to keep up with these breakthroughs as they happen, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives just like this one. All right, this brings us to our final section, the endgame. If we are entering a new age of research, what's the North Star? What are we actually aiming for? For Sutskever, it's about rethinking the entire concept of artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Sutskever argues that our old idea of AGI was a system that could do everything right out of the box, a finished, all-knowing product. He proposes a really powerful shift in perspective. The goal isn't to build a static AI that already knows how to do every job. The goal is to build an AI that can learn to do any job, just like a human can. It's not a know-it-all, it's a learn-it-all. He describes this as a super-intelligent 15-year-old, incredibly bright, eager, and ready to be deployed into the world to learn a specific skill. The whole emphasis shifts from knowing to learning.
So what does deploying a superlearner actually look like? Well, first, Sutskever emphasizes a gradual release. The world needs time to adapt. Second, you have to show the AI, not just talk about it. No essay can communicate its power. People have to actually interact with it to truly understand. This interaction will likely trigger massive economic growth. And this leads to a fascinating prediction. As the AI's power becomes undeniable, even the fiercest corporate rivals will be forced to collaborate on safety. The shared risk will just become more important than any competitive advantage.
The future isn't one single AGI run by one company. Sutskever envisions this complex ecosystem. There will be multiple powerful AIs from different labs, all competing in the market. This will spur incredible economic growth, but it will also force governments and the public to step in with regulation. This new reality is going to demand entirely new paradigms for safety and collaboration, leading to a world where human and AI systems are deeply, deeply integrated. Ultimately, this all boils down to one fundamental issue. The problem of AI is the problem of power. When you create entities that are potentially far more capable than humans, how do you ensure a stable, safe, long-term equilibrium? How do we coexist? It is the central question facing humanity over the coming decades. And this leads us to our final and perhaps most provocative thought from Sutskever. He suggests, while admitting he doesn't really love the idea, that the only truly stable, long-term solution might be for humans to merge with AI. Through something like an advanced Neuralink, we could maintain our own agency and understanding in a world with superintelligence. It's a challenging, profound idea, and it leaves us to wonder, to ensure our place in the future, might we have to become something more than human?